Welcome to United Hour, your one-stop shop for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm Imran.
We are here on Friday recording. We thought about recording after the Fulham game on Sunday, but it doesn't mean that much since our top four was confirmed yesterday. We've got a couple of games to talk about, obviously the Chelsea game last night and also the Bournemouth game before that. We'll also have a look at what's going on with the end of the Women's Super League season and touch on a few of the news stories going around on the takeover and things like that. But yeah, look, Imran, we'll start obviously with the game last night against Chelsea. You know, it'd been a running theme for a few weeks here about our top four race. I know yourself and Jamie had got a bit worried about it a few weeks ago. I think it was that 2-2 Tottenham draw where we threw away 2-0 and Liverpool had started their kind of run of form that started getting some worries around the place. But yeah, we did of course get that away win finally against Bournemouth. I mean, were you finally feeling good after that Bournemouth game, or are you still worried we might throw it away? I know you're always the most pessimistic and ready to
I think
get
the Bournemouth game coupled with the Liverpool draw at Villa was pretty much, we're sorted now. The Villa draw was the big thing. I was like, we're over the line now. So yeah, I was feeling pretty relaxed. I actually thought we would win this game 3 or 4-0. So I was nearly right on that. I didn't think they'd score, but they did at the end. But yeah, I was actually feeling very, especially when you look at the Chelsea lineup, and I mean, it's not really anything to fret about, and with the form they're in, and yeah, they're terrible. So I was pretty confident about this game, and I was pretty relaxed. So yeah, it was quite a nice week, really. Finally could relax. And I think I know some people are saying like, oh, why are you even worried in the first place? But to be fair, like Liverpool did push us to the second to last game.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people said it was over weeks and weeks and weeks ago. It definitely wasn't over weeks and weeks ago. We had to be pushed to this point. So
we made it interesting. Like I said, I was not worried at any point. I think the fact that we gave them some hope makes it even better. And you know, they went on their kind of run and they nearly did. I think you said it and I said, well, I'm sure they'll have some kind of, I think there's something like you said, I think they're going to win every game, and there were still 8 or 9 matches left.
Yeah. I mean, I thought they would win every game, and they probably will beat Southampton. So they've won all but one game, which is good going at the end of the day. I think someone commented like how it was ridiculous to even say they might win every game. But it wasn't that ridiculous. They literally have won all but one, and we'll probably win the last one too. So
yeah, it was pretty crazy. But as I say, not only can we celebrate getting our top four, stopping them from getting it makes it doubly better.
And also it worked out well because now they're going to have some, because I think they were all about ripping it all up and starting again in the summer, but now they might think, it kind of puts them in a weird position now because they're in the Europa League. They need a lot of squad investment, but this end of the season might make them think actually we don't need it, but they definitely do. You know, whole new midfield, they do. Probably a couple of defenders, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in the summer. But it might give it this end of season might give them false hope.
Yeah, I mean, the summer's obviously going to be interesting for everybody. The transfer rumour mill has already started, and as anyone who listens to the show knows, I don't take that much notice of it, but we will be talking and updating about all that stuff throughout this summer. But yeah, look, let's talk about the actual game. We'll talk about Liverpool. I mean, Chelsea pre-season were expected to finish top 4. They've obviously got absolutely nowhere near close. I'd actually seen that somebody had put what the pre-season top 4 odds were, and we were actually expected to come 5th after Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham and Chelsea. We were actually supposed to come 4th. Arsenal was supposed to come 6th. Newcastle, I think they were way down the list somewhere. So yeah, it's been quite a different season than what the bookies are all expecting and what the pre-season form said. But yeah, look, finally we've got in there. And I said Chelsea season has been absolutely mental. It wasn't that much of a surprise that we'd beaten them there. They did have a bit of a weird lineup. He threw in a few kind of youngsters, but I think he's just got so many players to choose from. Every week he's just randomly throwing darts at a board and picking his first 11.
What was it? It was their youngest ever lineup, I think. Youngest ever Premier League lineup.
Yeah, okay. I didn't actually see that. Youngest ever.
Yeah, for them. I don't know if it was all-time Premier League, but it was definitely their youngest Premier League lineup ever, I think. I think their average age was like 23 or something.
Yeah, he definitely did give a few of the younger guys a run out there. And early on, the game was a kind of crazy game, wasn't it? It was like there was chances both sides. It ends up 4-1 in our favour, but there could have been a lot more goals in this game.
Oh, it was a very weird game. It could have been any score. I think you could have just thrown some random numbers in the air and they landed, and it would have been. I mean, I don't think we were that good. I think we were both not very good and also quite good, like all at the same time. If we were like firing on all cylinders, had a top striker, were purring, you could have easily seen us winning this game by 7 or 8. I mean, our XG was over 5 anyway, which was the highest XG difference for the season. I think our XG was higher in this game than Liverpool's was when they beat us 7-0. So
could have been. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your source. I actually always look at Understat. They've got ours at 4.9 and Chelsea at 1.7. But yeah, there is different XG stats out there nowadays. And I did see a couple putting us at around 5.2, 5.3. But yeah, that was on the track to being our best win, basically. I mean, late Chelsea goal just puts a little bit dampener on it, but nobody was that bothered about that.
I mean, it was. Our biggest win probably is 3-0. So 4-1 technically is a bit is bigger than 3-0. So yeah, it could, but we should have been more. Should have been 5, 6, 7. But then also the fact that we scored 4 in a game is quite something at the moment, because we can't seem to. We're not that clinical. But yeah, with a top striker, if we were really purring, we would absolutely hammer them. And then at the same time, they could have easily scored 3 or 4 goals themselves. They probably should have been ahead in the first half. They should have been ahead before we even scored the first goal. Mudryk missed a sitter. Havertz missed a sitter. Conor Gallagher missed a really good chance as well. So they definitely could have scored more. Should have been about 8-4 in the end. But we would definitely deserve to win, even though we didn't play that well, which was weird. I think we were actually playing a bit within us, I thought. I don't think we were like full pelt Man United. I don't know what full pelt Man United looks like at the moment, but it didn't feel like that. I mean, when Rashford came on, I felt like Rashford was like playing at half speed almost at times, and he still looked like one of the more threatening players on the pitch. So yeah, I think it was very easy for us, I thought.
Well, I think obviously getting an early goal changes the whole outlook of the match. Plus, we knew we only actually needed a draw to just seal everything. So yeah, it kind of changes the whole picture quickly. And yeah, in both these games, we'll talk a bit more, but we can kind of cover them both as we go along. It's an early goal from Casemiro, 2 games in a row. Bournemouth, finally we get an away win back on the board, because that's the thing that had been giving everybody doubts about our running. But yeah, the first 10 minutes of both games, Casemiro gets one, and that Bournemouth one, should probably be down as our short list of 10 for goal of the season.
I mean, I was thinking about after the game, I couldn't even tell you what our short list for goal of the season is. Probably Anthony against City. But you don't really want to think about that goal because it came in a 6-3 loss, but that was probably our goal of the season.
I haven't thought about it at all. We will do another show at some point.
I could not tell you what in fact, for the whole Premier League, I couldn't tell you what the best goals of the season were. Enciso scored that brilliant one against City this week, and I was like, that's probably goal of the season. And I'm trying to think what would rival it. And it's like, I couldn't tell you a standout goal from the Premier League this season. Just doesn't seem to be.
Nothing comes to mind.
Exactly. I feel like we're in a time where people don't really wang the ball in from 30 yards on a regular basis anymore. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you what goal of the season was.
Well, Casemiro's definitely up there for our one, and should get some plaudits for that. And look, generally it seals off a brilliant season for him. He'd had a slight kind of lull, hadn't he, after he'd come back from suspension. But these 2 games, vital goals. And I said that the goal side of it was something I never expected him to bring to the table. Everybody knew we were getting a world-class kind of defensive midfielder, but he's got several goals and a few assists on him. And
14.
Brilliant. And I think now people start talking about things like goal of the season, player of the season. It's kind of between Casemiro and Rashford, probably, maybe with a kind of bronze medal for Martinez or something like that.
I would put Luke Shaw in there, actually, to be honest.
Okay.
I would actually have Luke Shaw second behind Rashford, or maybe even I don't know. I think Luke Shaw's been. The problem with Martinez is he's been injured since the Sevilla game, which was a massive run. Missed a good chunk of the season on this run in. Casemiro's missed 10 games through suspension. Rashford is mainly post World Cup that he's really started turning it on. Whereas I think Shaw's been consistent for the whole season as one of our best players consistently. and really stepped up when we need him at centre back. So I'd throw Luke Shaw in there.
I think it definitely deserves mention, but for me, still Casemiro and Rashford are the two standouts for the season. Especially Casemiro coming in for his first season in the Premier League has made a big difference. Rashford as well. Part of it is the story from how poor he was last season. A lot of people writing him off. For him then to come back with a 30-goal season, first player since Robin van Persie to do that for us is absolutely exceptional. I mean, I'd always defended Rashford, always said he needs another chance to come back, but I never expected him to pull out a 30-goal season already. And thank God he has, because, we know goals has been our biggest problem this year, and he's the one who's kind of made up for it.
I think what you would say about Rashford and Casemiro is I don't think we qualify for Champions League without either of those two players.
Exactly.
Obviously, it's a team effort, and obviously everyone like Varane and Martinez and Shaw, they all make a big, and Bruno, they all make a big difference. But I think those two in particular, I don't think we qualify for Champions League without them too.
Yeah, definitely. And look, as you said, this game kind of seemed relatively easy in the end. Got us over the line to the Champions League we needed. Early goal from Casemiro, then perfectly timed another one just before half time. Jadon Sancho, who's been getting some stick here and there, still seems to pop up with the odd assist and goal, just to remind you that he can actually play and has some things that can be useful to the squad.
Well, I thought it was terrible up until that assist, and then after that assist, he actually had a really good game. Basically, as soon as he went on to the right, which is, I guess, well timed because of this unfortunate Anthony injury we don't know the extent of yet. But yeah, he was actually good on the right. He actually looked quick in the second half. I don't know whether that's down to Chelsea just looking terrible. There's a lot of space for him to attack as well. I wouldn't hold my hat on it being a consistent thing going forward from him. But I mean, for this one-off game, can't really fault him for everything he did after his assist, and should have probably had a few more assists after that. Later on, a good one for Garnacho, later on for McTominay, later on for Bruno. Probably could have come up with 2 or 3 assists.
Yeah, that is what we're expecting, even if it's not the goals. I was always expecting this is a player who's going to create a lot for us. This is a player who's going to be getting assists every week. And like you say, you do see what he can do. We just need to see more of it. As you mentioned, the only downer from the night is maybe a couple of injuries. We have to see what the long-term prognosis is. Anthony came out after about half an hour. Luke Shaw went off at half time. I don't know if it's just precaution or what exactly, but yeah, we have to see what happens. I mean, obviously the game on the weekend against Fulham is not particularly important. I guess third place is kind of up for grabs, but there's no difference going into the Champions League between third or fourth place. In the past, there used to be playoff rounds and things like that, but it won't make any difference for next year. So they've got a good kind of 10 days, 9, to get ready for that cup final, which is more what we're kind of thinking about going forward there. But yeah, look, a nice at least for Martial to get on the score sheet. He's had a couple of tap-in kind of goals recently, which is good. It's actually the kind of goals we need more of,
I mean, it's masked the fact that he's been absolutely dreadful. I mean, his first touch at the moment is appalling. It's like Lukaku, giving me Lukaku vibes, but I mean, I guess if he's scoring, fair enough. I guess it's funny. Usually we can rely on him to not do all the fancy dance stuff outside the box and can first touch and pass it off and stuff, but then he won't be in the box to actually score the goal. And now he's in the box to score these tap-ins, but everything else is a bit rubbish. But I guess if you're scoring, you can't complain too much. But I mean, you want more. I mean, a game like this, he could have a top striker. You'd be bagging 2 or 3, you'd think.
Yeah, and it's funny, early in the season, whenever he was playing, he was doing well. He was getting like goals, getting assists. He had like a crazy stat earlier on in the year for like minutes played. He had the most goals and assists, but that was partly down to not playing many minutes. And he'd get like half an hour here and there and get a goal or assist. But then he has played like relatively regularly now for a month or so, is it? Like since he's come back, and
maybe his body's just not used to playing this much football, and it's just deteriorating. He's played like he's gone a month without injury. He doesn't know what to do, so he just can't play football anymore.
I mean, Ten Hag still doesn't trust him to play 90 minutes. He takes him off every game around 60, around 70. And often it's Weghorst, although, Weghorst didn't get a run out in this game, but we'll see from there. I still think, even like I do agree with you, he's not been great, but he's still a way better option than Weghorst. And yeah, we'll probably be starting that cup final when we get round to it. Because I don't see what other options we have over there. But yeah, we can get to that a bit further down the line. But yeah, goals rounded up by a penalty from Bruno, and Rashford back on the score sheet again. Like I say, great to see, 30th goal of the season. Just good to get him back in. He didn't start this game because he's had some fitness issues, illness. But again, he's got another 8-9 days to get ready for that cup final, which is really the important one.
Yeah, it's nice for him to get that 30 goals as well. I think if he'd finished on 29, it would have been, well, he just needed that one more. So he's got his 30 goals season, caps off an excellent season for him. We finally got a penalty. Probably from all the penalties we haven't got, they were more penalties than this one. It was a pen, I think. He just catches him.
This one was a stone wall pen.
I don't know,
like it's an absolute
we've had much bigger stone wall penalties than this one. This one was it was just for fun. It got done and then swung a leg. I think Bruno could have probably kept going if he wanted to, but it's a pen.
It does catch him. He does catch him.
I do think Bruno could have kept on running if he wanted to, but he didn't have to. It's not a pen. It's not on him to do it. But what I'm saying is, if you compare that to, I don't know, the Weghorst one against Palace, or the McTominay one against Palace, or the Sancho one, then they're clear penalties. They put this one to the shade. So yeah, that's all I'd say. But we deserved one. I think we were 19th for penalties.
Well, look, if we've saved all these for the cup final or something like that, we'll be very happy. Wait for the luck to run out then.
And he put it away nicely. So yeah. And then we should have scored probably 5-6 even after Rashford scored. Some good opportunities, but 4-1, can't complain at the end of the day. Good night's work.
Yeah, you can't. As you said, it hasn't been. Well, we haven't scored 4 goals this season, so yeah, it's rare. And
we did against. Did we score 4 against Sociedad? No. Yes.
We might have done. We haven't done in the league.
In the league, sure. No. In Europe, I think we scored 4, but in the league we haven't scored 4, which is weird. But yeah, Chelsea are terrible.
Yeah, they are, but they do have some good players. If they're getting Pochettino in, then I think they will come back strongly. I wouldn't write them off completely if he can just work out which of those are worth keeping hold of. There is definitely some talent in there, and they just need somebody to sift through and get rid of the deadwood. But look, generally, this rounds off what is a good season for us. I think at the start of the season, my expectation was only top 4, nothing more than that. So for us to get top 4 plus a cup is great, and potentially we could get this to 3rd with 2 cups, which would be obviously an outstanding end to the season.
It's been a good season, I think. I think top 4, Champions League was like standard. If we just got Champions League, we'd have said that was that was what expectations were. Top 4 with a cup, good season. Top 4 with 2 cups is a great, outstanding season. And it kind of all rests on that FA Cup final, really. If we win that, it ends on a terrific high. If we're not, it's kind of a bit of a downer, but we shouldn't mask the fact that it is. Yeah, it's been a good season.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever happens in that cup final, it is still a good season for Erik ten Hag, especially when, don't forget that start when we lost 2 games at the start of the season. And, our home form since then has obviously been brilliant. We haven't lost since that early blip against Brighton.
Second in the home table, I think, only behind City.
Yeah.
And 2 of those draws, Newcastle, we should have won. We missed 2 pretty much open goals at the end of that game. And Southampton, we had a man sent off a bit harshly. So either of those could have gone our way. The Leeds one was a weird game. And then, Brighton. I think you played that game against Brighton. Now I don't think we lose it. So just how it goes. But yeah, great home form. I want to see that continue. Become a bit of a fortress at Old Trafford would be good. Even though it's really good home form, obviously, but it doesn't feel quite like a fortress yet, which is weird because we've only conceded 9 goals. But then you think of a lot of games where it was just we squeaked out a 1-0, and it's not been that comfortable. And you think next season you just want to make it Old Trafford, definite 3 points, very comfortable, win by 2 or 3 goals, and that's the standard.
Yeah, let's hope for that. We will take a quick break there and come back for part 2. Back for part 2 of the podcast, and we were just talking about the great home form. I and Imran will be at Old Trafford for the Fulham game on the weekend. Doesn't mean a lot now. We can obviously get third place, which would be nice, just for kind of pride and bragging going into the season. But yeah, doesn't have that many odds going in. I mean, we're kind of prime place, 2 points ahead in Newcastle with that game going in. So yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah, but they're playing. Who are they playing? Newcastle?
Not actually sure.
They've got a game that's winnable away, but winnable. But I get it third, fourth. Who cares? I'm not bothered.
Yeah, there isn't that much left on this last day of the Premier League now.
No, it's just relegation and your Conference League qualification.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know whether the likes of Tottenham want to be in that or not. So that, do you want to be in the Conference League? Yeah, maybe. If you're West Ham, I'm sure you do want to be. If you're Tottenham, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in it. I think you're actually better off not in it. Although maybe you can just send out a youth team for some practice or something like that.
the Newcastle have got a very winnable game. They're playing Chelsea. Very, very, very winnable, as we've learned. But yeah, they've got a much better goal difference than us. So if they come third, then whatever. And who cares? It's more about for us just getting the minutes, ticking over, not getting injuries. I don't want to see anyone going into a 50-50. No one getting sent off. Probably won't start Casemiro. As soon as Casemiro, if Casemiro gets booked in the 10th minute, I would take him off straight away. There's absolutely no need for anything crazy in this game, and we just
I would not play Casemiro. Rashford has not started recently, so probably does need a start just to get into full fitness for that cup final. Other people Shaw, maybe he's got a knock anyway, but yeah, I would give him a rest.
Yeah, give Maguire a send off.
Yeah,
give Fred McTominay minutes, give Wout a start to maybe get a Premier League goal. just who cares? At this point, it is literally about just getting some minutes in the tank and avoiding any suspensions or injuries. The only worry I have is Mitrovic running around like an absolute madman.
Yeah, they want to make up for that
vengeance quest, and
yeah, of course, we beat them, and they had that crazy turnaround with a triple red cards, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Craziness going on. So yeah, maybe they'll have some comeback for that, but yeah, I don't think we're that bothered. If they want to have their revenge for that, go ahead, as long as, like you say, we keep everybody fit. The only ones who need to get in is Rashford. Maybe there's this slight question on the right side now. If Anthony ends up injured, who's going to come in over there? It's probably going to be Sancho, I guess.
Well, I wonder if he'll put Bruno over there and then shore up the midfield a bit with Fred.
I have seen actually a couple of people putting shouts out like that. People even saying, listen, let's just absolutely jam the midfield. Fred, McTominay and Casemiro.
No, I think when it was City at home, it was Fred, Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno on the right, and Martial and Rashford, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if he repeats that. Because, yeah, obviously you've got to try things to combat City, but I wonder if he'll try that, just because I think he'll leave Rashford. I wonder if he'll leave Rashford high on the left, not really make him do defensive work, so we can just pop the ball over for a counter. Obviously City are purring and in great form, and you've just got to look at ways to beat them, and I'm sure Ten Hag has things up his sleeve. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if throwing bodies in the middle will be one thing, because a big thing about the Chelsea game, and a lot of people criticising Eriksen, because they were running through our midfields quite easily a lot of the time. And I do think a part of that was just like we were very comfortable and kind of playing the game in second gear a bit. But yeah, you don't really want City to be running through you at will. That's a bit of an issue.
No, yeah, there has been some flack for Eriksen recently. Since he's come back from that injury, doesn't seem to have picked up where he was, because he was brilliant in the first part of the season.
Well, I thought he was really good against Bournemouth, to be fair. I thought he was one of our better players, actually. Especially, it helps control the game a lot, winning the ball back a lot. And I thought, especially because Bruno had a terrible game against Bournemouth, I thought Eriksen was really good. But yeah, in general, since he's come back, I think he probably came back a bit too early, just because we really needed him.
Yeah, and I'd say he's one who shouldn't be starting on Sunday either. Needs a rest if he is going to be playing in that cup final. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. The other thing that got confirmed actually in that Bournemouth game, it was another clean sheet. David De Gea got the golden gloves, the most clean sheets this season. A lot of talk about him as well. He has made several high-profile mistakes. Golden gloves is a weird kind of award, isn't it? Because it's given to the goalie, but really it's a team effort. And I think really it's more the likes of Martinez, Varane, Shaw, Casemiro, who really do deserve the plaudits for getting us all these clean sheets this season.
I think they all deserve it. All it's like a unit. I don't think you'd say anyone above the rest kind of thing. It's just a team unit of not conceding goals, especially at home where we've kept a lot of clean sheets. But yeah, it's weird when we die. I think I read something today that he's close on a 2-year deal with reduced terms, which I think a lot of people will be upset at. My personal belief is I would like to see a replacement come in, and someone fresh in between the sticks. But depending on how much we've got to spend, depending on transfer coffers, etc., and if Erik ten Hag wants it, then I guess begrudgingly fine. But I know a lot of people will be frothing at the mouth at the fact that David will be continuing.
I mean, I'm fine with him staying, but we do need somebody in who's really going to challenge him and really going to push to be that number one. And ideally for me, he would end up being our number 2, sat on the bench over there. And yeah, we need somebody who's coming in and not, we've had all these Butlins and Heatons and whatever who are obviously not going to be challenging him at all. So yeah, I think goalie is quite important for us, especially with the way that Ten Hag wants to play, because obviously he wants to play out from the back and it is not De Gea's forte at all. He has made some great saves for us this season. He has won points for us this season. We know he is still good at that. But yeah, overall, there's too many big mistakes and he's not contributing enough kind of to the build-up play. It's a big problem. So yeah, I think goalie is highish up the list for me. But yeah, I think striker is obviously number 1. But yeah, that Bournemouth game away, like I said, that was the day you finally started feeling comfortable about our top 4, right?
Yeah, I think if Liverpool had won, I'd still been a bit twitchy, but I think that was a big win. I didn't want to go into the Chelsea and Fulham game knowing we had to win both, because then things can get a bit tight. But yeah, that was a big win against Bournemouth, and yeah, it was a good professional performance, really. I mean, they did have that Kiefer Moore chance at the end, which they made a good save from, and then that Sensi, that guy, did a worldy volley at the end, which I thought, if that goes in, that is genuinely ridiculous if that had gone in. That would have been goal of the season if that had gone in, that volley. But yeah, you standard United performance, get a goal, don't really create much else, don't put the game to bed, and then you left a bit twitchy at the end, but we saw it over the line, and it was a big win.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was the one that kind of then made you feel that 1 point to go. And yeah, we did it, took it over there. And as you say, the men's league is finishing off on Sunday. The Women's Super League will be finishing tomorrow, Saturday. I'm not sure actually when exactly this podcast is going to come out. That's up to you, Imran, when you get round to editing it. But yeah, Saturday is the end of the Women's Super League season. Last time we recorded, we were just talking about the Women's FA Cup final. We were a bit kind of disappointed because we'd lost it and just said, look, let's make sure we confirm our Champions League place, which we did do. There was the Women's Manchester Derby, a full Lee Sports Village. Our women beat City 2-1 with a last-minute goal. So it doesn't really get that much better than that. Didn't actually play that well.
Yeah. And they had 10 men for most of half of it as well. It was not a good performance. Matt Skinner wasn't the most pleased, which I kind of get. Like 1-0 up against 10 men, and then you're having to rely on a last-minute goal to win
10 players.
Sorry, 10 players. Yes. We'll have to rely on a last-minute goal to win. It's not great, but I mean, we did the job. We got over the line. Just a shame that Chelsea won as well. Arsenal were a bit feeble in that game. Missed a penalty, which was annoying when it was 2-1. But yeah, it looks like the league. Well, the league is basically over. There is very, very, very little chance that Chelsea will lose to bottom of the table Reading. So
yeah, that's it. There is a slim chance.
I mean,
on technically
less than slim.
We can still win the league. We're 2 points behind Chelsea. The last day to come, they're playing Reading, who are bottom of the league on a run of 5 losses in a row, maybe even more. They've lost their last 5 for sure. Chelsea have won 5 in a row. So yeah, it looks like
and the goal difference is such that even a point really, unless I don't think United will beat Liverpool by I think they need 5 goals. It would be so.
Yeah, it is a 5-goal difference. So. Look, technically it is still possible, but it's not probably not going to happen. But anyway, again, for Manchester United women, like the men, it has been a great season. In fact, it's undoubtedly the greatest season in the history of Manchester United women. I mean, it's only a 5-year history, but yeah, having gone to their first ever cup final and qualifying for the Champions League for the first ever time, that's big. It is big. And we have to then see what happens in the summer. I mean, there's already some rumours that some of the big players are going to leave. Onya Baja, who is up for our Women's Player of the Year, right back, Spanish right back, is apparently heading back to Barcelona, where she actually started her career as a youth player. So it wouldn't be that surprising that she wants to go back there. But yeah, bigger question marks over some of the English players like Alicia Russo and Mary Earps. And in fact, Mary Earps, by the way, also won the women's Golden Gloves. So both of our goalies, men and women, took the Golden Gloves for best clean sheet record for the season. So it has been kind of defensive solidity that's done it for both teams. So yeah, some nice kind of parallels to go between the games. And I don't know if you saw that David De Gea was in the stands for that Manchester women's derby over there. And then Mary Earps was on commentary for the first time yesterday.
Not on commentary, she's on punditry. She's done punditry before for United games, but yeah, she's a really good pundit, Mary Earps.
Yeah, it's actually first time I've seen her do any of it, and I thought she was good. So yeah, definitely something that she'll probably have more when she finishes her playing career. But good to see. But yeah, it has been a good season for the women for sure, and like I say, small chance of the league, but yeah, it's probably gone. And I know it's the most interest I've ever taken in a women's Super League season, and I know there's a lot of fans like that. I'm sure yourself as well, right?
Yeah, same. But I think it'll continue. Yeah, it's just about getting this ownership sorted out now, and then investing in the summer. If players go, if players stay, and then we've got to. I mean, it's Champions League football, and the level up to playing your Wolfsburgs and Barcelonas and Lyon is massive, really, compared to apart from the top three in the WSL, the step up is huge, so we need to compete.
It is huge, and like Chelsea, who've beaten us every time and look like they're going to win a league double, are not that great. I mean, I think actually they were in the to be fair,
both Arsenal and Chelsea were in the semi-finals,
but they've not won it at any point. So yeah, there is much stronger teams out there coming either from France, from Spain, from Germany, and yeah, a lot of players will leave to go and play in these leagues, and let's hope our big players don't do. But yeah, we will see. And it is still that whole takeover ownership situation that is just keeping that kind of dark cloud over everything, over the men and women's kind of transfer. I mean, you saw Eric Ten Hag yesterday in his post-match was saying, if we want to reach the next level, we need better players. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in the background. We've still not had any big update on what's going on the takeover side of it over there. I think probably for the women, as much, even more than men, it's massively important. Just what's going on with budgets and things like that. It's often an afterthought. And it
has been an afterthought for the Glazers, hasn't it? And I think both the Ratcliffe offer and the Jassim offer have stated that the women's team will get heavy investment. So, and whereas the Glazers has always kind of been there, it's over there, and I mean, it took them ages just to even get a team set up. They've only been going for 5 years, so yeah, it'd be big for them, big for the whole club. I did read somewhere that they were I mean, I don't know how true this is because I don't know how much it really does impact valuations, but they were waiting to see if Champions League qualification was a given because it will impact next year's earnings, which impacts how much the club's worth. But
yeah, I'd seen that, and I don't know if it's totally true. It does make sense, to be fair, that there would be some kind of agreement over final price because it will affect the revenue next year for sure, and even for a couple of years. If we'd missed out on it, this kind of things in the contracts with Adidas and things like that, if we'd missed out on Champions League 2 years in a row, there would have been a significant kind of drop down in how much they were paying us. Plus, obviously, there's TV money, potential prize money and things like that, and just generally the kind of sponsors you might attract do make a big difference when you're in the Champions League. I mean, our shirt sponsorship is still slightly up in the air. It said that the United made an announcement that maybe they might replace TeamViewer. That I think TeamViewer, maybe they made a mistake when they signed up with this massive contract over there, and they're looking for a way out of it. But I think their only way out of it is if we actually find a better deal than what they'd offered us. And things like Champions League are obviously going to be integral to that. So we'll see if there is any movement on that. Still a bit quiet. I don't know if I've ever asked you actually on the pod if you have a kind of preference out of, we had quite a lengthy chat when Ali Woods was on the last podcast about preferences, and he said he preferred Sir Jim Ratcliffe and kind of Ineos bid, whereas I'm still leaning towards Qatar and Sheikh Jassim, even though I don't feel super confident and comfortable about any of these bids, to be honest.
I mean, I just want I'm not even confident that Glazers will leave. I've said that since the start. I'll believe it when it happens. I'll believe it when I see the Glazers are out the door or not in charge of the club anymore. And I can still see a situation, even though it's ridiculous. It would be such poor planning from them. Much like the idea to put the club for sale and then retract it all is just such a. I mean, it'll hamper them in the long run when they do want to sell, and it causes a whole load of issues. But they're the Glazers, and the planning of them, it hasn't been great. Let's be honest. I don't think they're the most sound businessmen in the world. So yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, and at that point, then I can judge it whoever buys them, and I can see how my moral standpoint is at that point. But I just want them gone at this point. But I still don't believe they will.
I think that's the main thing. You can argue over Sheikh Jassim versus Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and there's a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, whether it's greenwashing, sports washing, whether you're looking at like the record. I mean, this was something that actually worried me a lot. I don't know if you saw that Ineos's other club, Nice, there's actually been a fair bit of fan protest there this week against the ownership. Yeah. And the captain even came out and made some pretty negative comments about how there doesn't seem to be any big plan of recruitment at the club over here. So yeah, that is very worrying to me, what's been going on at the other clubs that are owned by Ineos. And there's also Lausanne in Switzerland, who are a much smaller team, but I know that they've been relegated since Ineos bought in over there. I know we're a totally different kind of kettle of fish, and maybe you can't compare, but that always all you can do at this point is look at the track record of other teams and see what they've done. I mean, rightly, some other people have pointed out that there is no track record. If you're looking at Sheikh Jassim, he's never been involved in sports investment, so there's nothing to go off. But I think you almost take that track record over fan protests and relegations at other teams. But yeah, you can argue over it. But at the end of the day, for me, I would take either over the Glazers. We do want to see the back of them. I would be shocked now if they didn't leave. They may stay in some kind of minority situation, but I think they'll be off the board. I don't think they'll be making any decisions, because we'll see. We do hear that maybe Ineos have given them an option of staying for a few years. But yeah, it's all speculation, and we have to see what happens over there. And we're all waiting for it. As you said, some people have been saying maybe this Champions League qualification will unlock the kind of final round of talks and bidding, but we're still waiting to hear if there's a kind of preferred bidder selected. Because even after that, it's still going to take weeks, maybe even months of kind of legals after they formally announce somebody who's going to be the right guy.
But you can sort of spend within future knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it hopefully shouldn't impact the transfer budgets and everything too much.
So say that if it's Sheikh, just in for argument's sake, you can say, all right, now we can spend 250 because by the time we come in and sort this out, this money will be available, this kind of thing, to write that off. So you can kind of start future planning as soon as it's agreed, but without that, it's a bit up in the air. And yet we're still being linked to players. So obviously there is some sort of budget in place, or it's all just nonsense.
Well, I think a lot of it's nonsense anyway, but I do think at the same time there is budget over there. We will take another break there and come back for the last part of the show. Back for part 3 of this podcast. So we were just talking about the takeover, transfer budgets. I mean, I know there's been this kind of idea, especially because of our January transfer window that just relied on kind of 2 loan deals and there was no money in the pot, that we've got no cash to spend. But that is not true. I mean, a lot of our cash is kind of seasonal. So as I'm sure you know, and me, a lot of season ticket money comes in at this time of year. Yeah. It is the biggest kind of revenue that rolls into the club on match day. All season ticket holders have to pay basically by May to secure their season tickets, and there'll be a few new ones going out there as well. So a load of cash has come into the club the last month or so. Even without any takeover, there will definitely be some kind of transfer budget. I'd say that probably somewhere around 100 million, I reckon, minimum is available, plus then whatever players we might sell. So a lot of people are saying, we've got no money, we need this takeover. So don't totally agree with that. The takeover obviously puts a lot more clarity, should put a lot more money in the pot, but I'm sure they can be working on some kind of deals in the background already, and I'm sure they are doing. But yeah, it's not an ideal scenario and will kind of impact some planning on it, but I would expect there is some things going on in the background already.
Yeah, we've never been the best at selling players is my only worry, but we should being the keyword, generate at least 50 to 60 million from players. I would think.
Yeah, you're looking at Maguire, I don't know, McTominay maybe.
Between Maguire and McTominay, that should be 60 million, I think. But yeah. I'm not sure McTominay leaves. But if he does, I mean, I wouldn't sell McTominay for less than 30 million pounds. He's a Scottish international, played in United teams who have finished high at the table. I know he obviously doesn't have a lot of people slate him, but he would be a solid Premier League midfielder for most teams. And if you're looking at what James Garner sold for, how much did he send for? 16 million?
Yeah.
Morgan Gibbs-White was 42 million. Like, McTominay is a good age. Anything less than 30, I won't be entertaining it.
No, yeah, I'd agree with that nowadays for that kind of experience. And then, yeah, Maguire probably is up for sale. There's a few others around.
All the people like Tellez comes back from loan. Henderson, we should be able to get at least 20, you'd think, for him. Twanzebe is still kicking around. Then you got people like Fred last year at contract. Maybe if we're going to get another midfielder, and you think one of Fred and McTominay might leave. So yeah, there's obviously players to kick around. Just hope if we can actually A, get them out the door, and B, generate a good profit from it.
Yeah. So yeah, you'd hopeful some kind of work is still being done, but the takeover does need to happen one way or another, just for full clarity, so everybody knows what's going on. And obviously, the only thing I hope whoever comes in is that they don't mess too much with this manager and let him do what he wants. Erik ten Hag has shown that he knows what he's doing. It was pretty clear that he picked his own players in the transfer market last year, which I don't think has been necessarily the case with some of our managers recently. We know a lot of transfer business we've done in the last years has been done more like by committee, and maybe the manager had like a vote in there, but sometimes we understand that he was kind of maybe outvoted and didn't get the players he wanted and wasn't necessarily forced to take any players, but wasn't getting his first choices every time, whereas it was pretty clear last summer that Erik ten Hag was getting exactly the players we wanted, because we saw a couple of his guys come in from Ajax, another Dutch player. So yeah, it does seem that he wants to be more involved, and I hope.
But then again, like, I think Casemiro wasn't necessarily his player. It's just someone presented to him, and then he was like, well, yeah, I'll take Casemiro. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, we know that his number one choice was Frankie de Jong.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a balance. Ultimately, if you look at the three Dutch purchases, Martinez, unqualified success. I personally think Malacia is a bit of a fit. I mean, obviously not a huge failure. He's only your backup left back, but I just don't think Malacia is good enough, really.
No, but he only paid like what, 15?
But yeah, exactly. It's like a low gamble thing. And
I think he's actually been worth 15 as a squad player. Like, you pay like, you say 30 million for a squad player to get 15. I think he's been absolutely fine for the amount of money he costs.
Yeah. And then Anthony up in the air, I guess. We'll see. Maybe a lot of people think he'll kick on next season. He shows glimpses. Probably not worth 80 million, but that's kind of on us, I guess, that we messed it around. If we'd got him for 30, 40, I don't think anyone would be as critical. But there's got to be a balance, I think. Our scouts need to do a bit more. The club needs to do a bit more in terms of getting the right players in. But I mean, Erik ten Hag's been there for a season now. Hopefully that's more fine-tuned and more in place. I mean, the players we're currently linked at this week, Harry Kane, Declan Rice, Mason Mount, they're, not Dutch, are they? So,
Well, now that he's spent like a year in the Premier League, you'd think obviously he has a pretty good insight into a lot more of the players within the league, and maybe more than he would have done a year ago. Mount rumour has been the big one kind of this week, I guess. I mean, I don't like to talk a huge amount about transfer rumours because I think 90% of it is total nonsense. And I think probably Mason Mount's agent is trying to get him a new deal at Chelsea and get as much money as they can. But if it was true, would you be interested in taking Mason Mount?
I have never been a lover of Mason Mount. I think he's a bit average. I think when he was first in the England team about 3 years ago-ish, 2-3 years ago, and he was like a big thing and everyone was going on about. I made the prediction that he'll be playing for West Ham by his late 20s. So he's 24 now, so I've still got a few more years for my prediction to come true. I put a lot of weight actually into England performances for players, which I probably shouldn't do because England is maybe a lower level than actual Premier League football. But I think it's an indicator of how a team can settle into an unnatural environment and how much like they can thrive in that. And that's why I never really was a big fan of Sancho. That's why I didn't want Harry Maguire. I always thought Harry Maguire was a bit rubbish for England. I never really got the praise Harry Maguire got for England at all. It's just because he could seemingly move with the ball. The people was like, oh, look at this Harry Maguire charging out of defence. Like, well, he's not really charging out of the defence very comfortably, is he? So yeah, I'm not convinced by Mount. I'm more convinced by Rice. I think Rice is an excellent player. Anytime I see Rice at Old Trafford, I think he's brilliant. I'd be more than happy with Rice. It's just a price on that one. But they're best mates, Rice and Mount. So maybe getting Mount is the way to get Declan Rice. I think that's what maybe the approach is.
Oh yeah, you think it's a long-term strategy? Yeah,
wonderful ways for our YouTube and social media guys to create content with two best mates, childhood best mates. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. No, absolutely agree. Look, Declan Rice is a totally different level of player, but I'm sure he's going to cost double of what Mason Mount might cost. But yeah, striker is still the big one. The chat always seems to be kind of Kane versus the likes of Osimhen. But don't know if there's a few other names out there. We'll see. Like I say, I trust anyway Erik ten Hag to do his thing over there. You were saying rating the players has gone. I think generally he did pretty well in the transfer market.
Oh yeah, generally, yeah.
I mean, we overspent on Anthony for absolutely sure, but he's still a decent player and he's fitted quite well into the system and that kind of thing, which makes the difference. I say, Martinez will be our big miss for that cup final. If he hadn't been missing now, I think there'd be a lot more chats about him and player of the year.
To be fair, less big now that Lindelof had decided to be a very good defender. I think
Lindelof has done well. He has done
excellent. Well. I have been a big. I mean, you have too, to be fair.
I have
big critics of Lindelof in the past, but I would say this isn't Lindelof of the past. This is a much more aggressive Lindelof. Really gets stuck in. I think he's grown about 3 inches. He seems to be heading every single ball out of the box. I think he's been excellent. And a lot of people say it's to do with not being next to Maguire, and hard to have an argument against that. He looks a lot more comfortable when he's with Shaw or Varane. And I have no qualms with him starting the cup final now. Whereas I think when Martinez got injured, it was more, we can need Varane back so we can have Varane and Shaw in the back. But now it's definitely Varane, Lindelof, and Shaw at left back, and we kind of need Shaw at left back.
Yeah, agree with that. And yeah, I have been massively critical of Lindelof. I thought he was quite a weak link for us. Even though didn't think Maguire was brilliant, I had Maguire ahead of him. He's quite clearly pushed himself ahead of Maguire in the kind of pecking order. Like you say, you'd assume Harry gets a run out in this Fulham game just to see off, and possibly it might be his last game for us. I would expect so. Although, yeah, a lot depends on him. If he's happy to sit around on the bench, I guess Erik ten Hag might be happy for him to be a squad player.
He's definitely gone. I don't see him wanting to sit around on the bench. And also, he's one of the players we can get money for at the end of the day. You can get 20-30 million for Harry Maguire quite easily, I think. And there'll be a lot of people lining up to take him. So I think it's a no-brainer that he goes in the summer.
And since the last time we recorded, Phil Jones has officially announced that he's leaving the club. He's had a horrific kind of last 4 years. I think something like 15 matches or something like that. I think he might have not played this year, even 1 minute. Was it 1 or 2 appearances he had last year?
Well, yeah, what he played against that 1-0 defeat against Wolves. And then I think he started the next game against Liverpool as well.
Yeah. And yeah, look, it's been a real shame. He became a bit of a kind of comedy figure, which is a bit sad to kind of see. And I see him get a lot of flack, which I don't really like, because if somebody's injured, they can't do anything about it. I don't really understand why players get loads of criticism when they're injured. And I'm sure it's killed him as much as anybody to have had this kind of 4 years. People say, oh yeah, but he sat around earning 100 grand a week. I'm sure he doesn't care. That's nonsense. I'm sure it's been an absolute killer for him, and that he would give all that money back to have been able to play even like half of the time in the last 2 years. And I do think some people might forget, and maybe even our younger fans don't even know, that he was an absolutely outstanding young talent. He came to us as a teenager. He went straight in the team. He played right back. He played defensive midfield. He played centre back, and did them all really well. There is the famous quote from Fergie saying that he could be one of our best players ever. And I don't actually think it was that ridiculous at the time. I mean, obviously, it's not worked out like that. But he was a player, like I said, at 19 as well. Players like manager like Fabio Capello was happily throwing him in for England. And I remember there was a quote from Fabio Capello saying, like, I see him like Franco Baresi, a player that can easily play centre back, can easily play centre midfield, and do both equally well. And I haven't had many players like that in my career. And that was when he was like 19, 20 years old. So yeah, I think some people might forget how highly rated he was back then. But unfortunately, he was made of glass. Unfortunately, half of his career has been a total write-off. Even those years where he did play, he always had injuries all the way through. It's probably linked to the fact that he played a lot, maybe too much when he was young, and also was a player who was ready to put his body on the line, throw himself in front of every ball. And yeah, it has been a totally killer 4 years from him. But yeah, he will move on now. I don't know if he'll get a chance to resurrect his career elsewhere. He could have had a testimonial, but apparently has turned that opportunity down.
Yeah, it's a shame that I wouldn't begrudge Phil Jones a testimonial. I can't imagine getting to. I mean, it was every kid's. Well, I say every football fan's dream when they're a kid is to be able to play professional football, and then to actually get there and then not be able to do it half the time must be. I mean, it must be a killer. I can't. I haven't been able to play football properly for the last year, and it kills me mentally. I find it really tough not to be able to play football. So I can't imagine that must be like times 1,000 at a professional level. So yeah, it really difficult. So I think if anyone wants to throw some stick at Phil Jones, I would urge you to reconsider, really, because he's just a human at the end of the day with human problems. And yeah, we shouldn't have given him that last contract. Maybe it's for 5 years, but that's not on Phil at the end of the day. That was a club decision, and it's not on him that he should have signed it, absolutely. And then it's not anyone calling him that, he should have terminated his contract. That's absolute nonsense. Like you would not do the same. You would not do the same thing. If anyone saying, he doesn't want to play football, ultimately he's been injured. And yeah, you say, why don't you relocate? Well, one, there weren't clubs lining up to take on an injured player, and two, he's got a family to think about at the end of the day. If he's moved, I think he had that chance to go to Bordeaux in France, I think, on a loan or something. And you're thinking, well, one, he's probably worried about being injured half the time, and then two, he's got to be away from his family while injured. And I mean, that's a lot to cope with. So yeah, I think you forget these players are humans at the end of the day, and they've got human problems. So it's
and on that last contract as well, everybody always says, crazy, but if you look, he actually was playing relatively regularly at that point. I think it was Ole's first season, and he played a fair bit for him over there. He was also in the England squad in the 2018 World Cup. He even played in that, I think there was a 3rd and 4th place playoff back in the 2018. He played in that match. So yeah, he was playing for England. He was playing relatively regularly for us. So giving him a new contract was not crazy. Giving him a 5-year contract probably was crazy. But yeah, he absolutely deserved a contract at that time. But we are still paying for a lot of these players, as I say. They've only been relatively recently. We got rid of the likes of Rojo, so never mind Phil Jones. Yeah. And we still have Eric Bailly kicking around somewhere, I think. You mentioned before Tellez. I think, isn't Eric Bailly still our player?
Eric Bailly is still our player, yes. I forgot about that. So yeah, he could fetch at least 2 million. So
So yeah, there's others over there who've done much less for us than Phil Jones has. But yeah, he along with De Gea, he is that last link to our last title-winning team. So yeah, they're the last kind of two who are still standing from Alex Ferguson's time and our title-winning team. So yeah, it is kind of now coming to officially the end of that era. But yeah, hopefully Eric Ten Hag can take us on a new era. Before we round off, let's have a quick look at that FA Cup final. Fulham is coming up. We kind of touched on it. There isn't that much to say. But yeah, it's all about that cup final now. It's a week tomorrow, Saturday the 3rd. I will be there. actually the third cup final I'm going to this year, because there was the Women's Cup final and I saw us beat Newcastle there. So yeah, kind of got my Wembley season ticket going now over there. So yeah, we're obviously the underdogs, but look, we have beaten City. I think everybody's just assuming that we're not going to win this game. I saw a thread up on Red Cafe saying, are you seeing this? What's more important to you, actually winning the cup or stopping City from winning the treble?
I mean, they're both quite important, I would say. Level pegging.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say actually to me, it's actually more important stopping City winning that treble, only because we have already won a trophy this year. If we hadn't, then it would be all about saying, listen, forget about City, we want our cup. But yeah, it takes extra importance because it is a Manchester derby. It takes extra importance because of that treble. And look, on a one-off game, we have a chance. As you say, my biggest worry was the centre-backs. You know, a few weeks ago when we lost Varane, when we lost that, I was like, oh my God, going into an FA Cup final, Haaland, whatever, against our makeshift centre-backs. But now, yeah, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable about that. Varane has got himself back to kind of fitness, although I do think he was quite a bit to blame for that late goal yesterday, but it didn't matter that much. So yeah, we'll let him off for that one. And as you say, Lindelof's in decent form, Shaw back in place. Rashford looks like he can just get himself back to full fitness just in time for that cup final. Only maybe like question mark on the right side. We already touched on it, talking about should we be changing our formation and packing the midfield. So what, you would go towards slightly changing it and just trying to pack that midfield and go for the counter?
I would. I think the Casemiro and Bruno midfield is more equipped to a game where you are going to see a lot of the ball, and I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of the ball in this game. So I think stuffing that midfield, having workers, having people who can get around the pitch is probably our best bet, and then trying to catch him on the counter. I think good thing about Fred as well is he breaks forward quite quickly from midfield. So I mean, I even said this: I wouldn't be adverse to starting Wout Weghorst. Not saying that we should. I wouldn't be averse to it, just because again he can put the work in and help out in midfield and drop back and get around the pitch a bit more than Martial would. Not saying that's what we should do, just saying I wouldn't be averse to it.
I would. I do not want Wout Weghorst starting this game. I mean, if you want somebody to do that, just be a big man running around getting away, then place Scott McTominay. And I actually think that Scott McTominay can finish better than Wout Weghorst can as well, to be honest. So yeah, I don't see any value in Wout Weghorst whatsoever. But yeah, I would not be averse either to bringing in, and especially if Anthony's out, then maybe it even forces the hand to push Bruno out wide, even though I don't like him playing wide.
Well, but the thing is, he's not been great in his normal position these last two games. Even yesterday, I don't think he had a great game.
He hit that bar with that one shot, didn't he? Where he probably should have put it away
or passed it to Martial. But I don't think he's been great recently. So, and yeah, I just think for what we need in midfield, I feel like, and the Anthony injury, I feel like moving him out wide probably might be the way we go. And ultimately, I mean, yeah, we beat City. We beat City in what? Did we play them in December? December, I think it was November, December time. And that was kind of at the time where City hadn't really kicked on this season. They were still like Pep was trying stuff and sorting the team out a lot. And actually, back then, I think I said it at the time. I feel like that game, you play that game at Old Trafford, I feel like we win half the time and they maybe win the other half the time. But I feel like it was more level. We were quite even level pegging then.
Yeah. I think it was actually January that we beat them. But yeah, it was winter time over there. Look, we have a chance there. I mean, I was hoping that Arsenal would push City right to the end of the season to keep them busy, to keep them going, and they haven't done. So they can also be resting players and taking their time before this final. And they'll also have a week until their Champions League final. So it's not that they're going to be too worried about that either, unfortunately. So yeah, both teams should be kind of fully rested and have all their players in over there. So we'll see where we go there. I just still think that they're on a day we can go with them. Ten Hag has shown in big games he can pull it out as well. You know, we've had a relatively good record, although we've also been spanked by Liverpool, by City. At the same time, you know, we've pulled out some good results in these games. So yeah, I'm hopeful for that game.
Yeah, it could go. We could get mauled. Could be 3-0, 4-0. But we could nick it 1-0. Could go to penalties. you just have to be hopeful, really. That I mean, we are definite underdogs. If we lose, it's not a travesty that we've lost to Man City at the end of the day. But you just kind of hope we can pull it out. And it would be I mean, it would be incredible to win this game. Like, it would be massive.
Oh yeah, for so many reasons. Like I said, Manchester derby, the treble, winning another cup. It's the significance goes off the scale. It
kind of feels like the biggest cup final we've had since Fergie, even though it's probably got the least. Not the least, but it doesn't have as much riding on it as, say, that Europa League game against Ajax, or even arguably the game against Newcastle just now to win that first cup. But this one feels like the biggest.
Well, of course, the last time we won the FA Cup was under Louis van Gaal.
Yeah.
He was fired basically straight after it. So showed, put a big dampener on that one. I do actually want to round off this show, and I'm going to ask you a question. I know it's normally Imran's stupid game, and we will do a proper big one of those in an upcoming show. But yeah, I want to give a shout out actually to Outsmarted. It's a new kind of game. We've been sent one of these over here to play. Outsmarted. Go and have a look at outsmarted.co.uk. It's kind of like a new type of game where you get a board with players, but it's all app based and you can play with other people in other places. They basically released a new Manchester United pack of questions around there, which I've been having a bit of play with. And it's actually a relatively decent level. I thought, it's going to be so easy. I'm going to get all these because, I like my trivia. Whenever you ask those questions, I'm always ready for those competitions. But there's a decent level to those questions. It weren't as easy as I was expecting at all. And so, yeah, I've got one question for you that I pulled out from Outsmarted. And so look, last time we won the FA Cup was Louis van Gaal 2016. And you might know this off the top of your head. So yeah, there is a multiple choice answer, but I won't give you them to start with. But yeah, how many FA Cups have we won in total?
Is it 12?
Bang on.
Yeah.
Well done. So we're actually second in the all-time list behind Arsenal. We've got 14. We were ahead of them under Fergie. In those late Fergie days, he didn't win many, and then we've only had that one in Van Gaal in recent times. So Arsenal have overtaken us up to 14. So yeah, we do have a chance to get one closer to them. And behind us, I think there was Liverpool, Tottenham, and somebody else who are on like 8. But yeah, so we're kind of a fair way ahead in the kind of second place. But yeah, outsmarted.co.uk. You can go and have a look over there. As I said, we are going to do a proper full round of Imran's stupid game using questions from Outsmarted. But yeah, they've got a special kind of Manchester United pack. That's what you do. You get the game and then you can buy different kind of rounds of quizzes online. They give some for free and some of them you can buy. So at the moment, there's a Man United question pack out there. So yeah, go and check that out. But yeah, that's going to round us off over here. We will probably just only come back after that cup final now and round off this season.
Unless something crazy happens against Fulham.
Unless something crazy happens, we want to record, we will want to try and do as well a kind of season awards we've done in the past, player of the year, goal of the year, moment of the year, all that kind of thing. We may fit that in midweek, but I don't want to promise it, especially because I'm kind of traveling myself midweek. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, but we'll definitely be back after that cup final. Good luck to the women who, as I say, are finishing off their season with a small chance of getting the league title over there. The men will round it off on Sunday, but it's all about that cup final. We will be recording all through the summer as well. Obviously, there'll be transfer news. We're still waiting for all that takeover stuff. So yeah, and any questions and all you have for us, do come and hit us on Twitter, or you can get us at unitedhour@gmail.com. We'll be taking a lot of questions to fill the kind of summer period. But yeah, look out as well. As I say, we often get asked for that Imran stupid game, but yeah, we will get one based on the Outsmarted coming up. But yeah, I think that is it from us this week. We will see you on the next one.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to United Hour. Remember to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at United_Hour. Please take the time to leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. United Hour is brought to you by the Sports Social Network, and our theme song is by Ancient Feelings. To get in touch, please email unitedhour@gmail.com.